and take it away, Ed Tillett from
Great.
Waterway Guide.
Thanks so much. First thing, I'd like to welcome everyone. Thanks for being with us this afternoon. I'm coming to you from my home here in Central Virginia in New Kent County, about halfway between the Chesapeake Bay and Richmond, Virginia. It's a beautiful sunny day, as you can see. Weather's still warm, so we haven't brought the plants in on the aft deck. And if you hear the birds chirping in the background or the kids somewhere, I'm sure that a lawnmower will probably start up any moment next door, and I may have to move inside or talk over it. But in any event, nice to have you with us this afternoon. I'm going to start with sharing my screen. Waterway Guide has been around since 1947. The first book was published then. It was focused on cruising the Atlantic Intracoastal Waterway. Actually covered from New York, started up north beyond mile zero and went all the way down to Florida. The first little book, I have a picture of it somewhere, and we found an old copy online. I paid some guy $65 for it. At the time, it cost $1. We're now publishing 21 publications. We have the Skipper Bob series of 10 books. We have 10 books of Waterway Guide. We also publish an annual magazine. We have a mobile app that is a Marina's app. We also have a new, and I don't have pictures of these, you can go out and find them online. We also have a new mobile app in production. We share our data across many platforms, navigation apps, including Aquamap, Humminbird, CIQ Pilot, iNavix. When I say data, I'll show you some of that in a moment. And we also have what is known as Waterway Explorer, which is really our flagship digital delivery of content. Ted Staley, who's with us, who's our senior advisor, Skipper Bob editor, was in on the development of Explorer 5 years ago. We have added a subscription model, which I'm going to show you some of that in a moment. I was in on the development of the Explorer. When we purchased the company, Jeff Jones, the publisher, and his family who owned the company, made a big commitment, create a strong digital platform upon which we could post data and deliver data and information. And that's what I'm going to take you through today. That's the lunch and learn, is waterwayguide.com, a free service with a lot of add-ons that you'll see in a moment. But we think that it is really, we know that it is the dominant digital platform for delivering content, accurate, expert-generated information, opportunity to do reviews and post the information and help you in all of your planning for the areas that we cover. So I'm going to start with a screen share after that long opening, and I will start with this overview of waterwayguide.com. As you can see, we have the continent of the North America showing, along with, you can see polygons, lines drawn around particular areas. Those are our coverage areas. We have the Great Lakes Volume 1, we have Great Lakes Volume 2. Coming down, we have the Western Gulf Coast, we have the Southern Edition, we have the Atlantic ICW, Bahamas, Cuba, the Chesapeake Bay, the Northern Edition, which includes areas all the way over, including the canals. So those are the 10 Waterway Guide publications, and we have Skipper Bob's that cover all of those as well. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time going into the differences between the two, but as Ted said the other night, Skipper Bob is simply a mile-by-mile, no-nonsense, black and white treatment of each of these areas for information associated with marinas, bridges and locks, navigating, advice, etc. Waterway Guide books are anywhere from 250 to 350, 400 pages long with a lot of detail, color, photographs, chartlets, excerpts, etc., and navigation advice, anchorage, docks, marinas, and so forth. But waterwayguide.com is the key. So let's take a section of the Waterway Guide publication on waterwayguide.com, which you can see up here in my browser. And I'm going to start zooming in using the left button. Zoom in again, drag the screen up, and look at this polygon, which is the Atlantic ICW, from mile zero in Norfolk all the way down to the Georgia-Florida border. And as you can see, the chapters are here, 1, 2, 3, 4, down the left side of my screen, all the way to Norfolk and Portsmouth with this, which is chapter 1. So I'm going to zoom in on the ICW some more. And as I continue to zoom, I drag the screen until I now am in separate chapter overviews. So if I wanted to look at Lockwood's Folly, North Carolina to Isle of Palm, South Carolina. That is a chapter. I also have an option here to use either Street View. I can use a satellite view. We get Navionics charts from their server, and any of those of you who use Navionics chart sets on your Raymarine or Simrad chart plotters, you'll know what Navionics looks like. It's a premier chart set. And then we also have Noaa Charts. So if you're a fan of Noaa, and I am, I would use the Noaa chart as my baseline. And I'm going to continue to zoom in to Lockwood's Folly, North Carolina. And at some point when I zoom in, I'm going to get so close that information is going to start appearing on that chart. Now, I'm delivering this via the internet. I'm using a standard internet connection from my home. If I were on my cell phone or my iPad and using my Verizon service, I would use my internet delivered by Verizon. Notice the layout of the screen. I have on the left side what is known as an info tab. And as I roll over it, certain marinas appear. Why are we looking at marinas? They relate to all of these symbols as well. So the reason why, let me close this. I have a lot of things open on my screen. The reason why we default to marinas initially is because we think that boaters oftentimes want to know where a marina might be in their travels or in their planning. You can change what you're looking at by simply either clicking on another symbol on the map, in this case, navigation alerts, or if I see another symbol on the map, such as a bridge, that little bridge, I can click on that. And that gives me information. We'll dive into this in a moment. I can also change what I'm looking at up here on this bar by simply clicking on my options. If I wanted to see all of the diesel locations where I could buy diesel fuel, I come up to this bar, do a drop down, and click on diesel. It tells me that $2.38 a gallon is available at this location. When I click on it, it says that it's the Sea Path, let me stay with that, Yacht Club and Transient Dock. It was updated on the 20th, which was today. They updated their price, so I feel pretty good that $2.38 or $2.39 with tax included is available at that location. I can go to the full listing by clicking on that box and find all of the facilities that are available at Sea Path Yacht Club and Transient Dock. I can drop this accordion menu, and it tells me the largest vessel, number of slips, transient slips, all this information here. I can see more information here, what to expect on site, volume discounts, service, basically about 300 data points per facility or marina. Now I'm finished looking at fuel prices. I want to go back to where I was. I simply click on this Back to Waterway Explorer, and it takes me back to where I was. I can close this info tab if I wish by using this arrow, or open it. And as I roll over them, they highlight in pop-up boxes in front of me. All right, let's go to Harbor Village Marina Incorporated. They have 10 reviews. Let's see what my fellow cruisers are saying about this place. So somebody on May 12th said service was a 4. The 1 rating is that they displayed their fuel prices at $2.49 for diesel, which was high. Everyone else is at $1.50. Needed fuel, was charged $3. Totally my fault. Should have paid attention before filling. So this particular boater was upset that he got charged more for fuel than he should have been. However, on June 2nd, Catherine said this is a gem of a marina. So you can also find out what others are saying by simply going to the review stars in the listing at waterwayguide.com. All right. So I've shown one component of Explorer, which includes marinas and other information. Let's say that I'm concerned about a bridge listing. The Surf City, North Carolina 50 bridge, I click on it. It tells me that it is fixed and it's closed at 65 feet. So if my mast is higher than 65 feet, I better not be going under that bridge because it's fixed and they're not going to open for me in my planning. Elsewhere in Explorer, we have, as I mentioned earlier, navigation alerts. And I think this is a pretty important component of what we take pride in. Our navigation alerts come to us from the work that Ted Staley does, in addition to the work that many of our other cruising editors do. Bob Shearer is one of our biggest contributors to the Atlantic ICW Navigation Alerts. And if you're going down the Intracoastal Waterway and you're drawing more than 3.5 or 4 feet, which most of us do, you're probably going to want to look at navigation alerts during your planning. You simply click on an alert and it says, we have these pop-up boxes that give you a kind of a preview of what to expect. Then you go to full listing. We'll tell you that on September 4th, about 5-6 weeks ago, Bob went through there and he says that there was rapid shoaling occurring at the northern approach to New River by G65A. And it gives you guidance on what you should do to go through that particular area. And notice that this particular navigation alert contains an overlay that you probably haven't seen before if you're not familiar with U.S. Army Corps of Engineers surveys. What Waterway Guide is doing as part of our navigation alerts is we're taking the Army Corps of Engineer surveys, which are boats that go through with sounding devices and then publish their information online. And Waterway Guide, in cooperation with Aquamap, in cooperation with the Army Corps of Engineers, is taking these screen captures and showing you the depths. Notice that we have included a key for you, a legend here, so that you understand what those depths are. Many of us haven't seen these color schemes before in standard Noaa charting or Navionics or Ray Marine or Garmin or anyone else. So pay attention to what the legend is. We give you another description of this information as well, as you can see along the bottom of the screen, what that stands for. And Bob Shearer, on a separate website, gives you an opportunity to go, if you are so inclined, you can go download his track using GPX files and put them in your chart plotter or in your mobile app and follow his route and use his route to go through if you trust his route. He says that here's the Army Corps of Engineers survey. It's shown as displayed in Aquamap with his track from May 31st of 2020 for 6.3 feet of mean low water. Take great care through this area as the shoaling has been rapid and is continuing. So in any event, these are our nav alerts. Folks have put comments in here. On September 25th, 2020, Robert Hedrick on a 34-foot boat that came through southbound, follow Bob 423's direction and you should be fine. Transited at 2 hours past low, no less than about 8 feet. Somebody came through in April, said that the buoy was high and dry. So the point of all of this long discussion here is that Waterway Guide is the leading distributor of navigation alerts for cruisers throughout all of the regions that we cover. We crowdsource the information through our comments and reviews. We expert generate it through our paid experts, including those of us who are on staff and go research this information and those who cruise the waters. And we make this content available to you at no charge.
Ed, I'm going to interrupt you for a second because we do have a question that's related to viewing things here on Waterway Guide Explorer. So the question is there a way to keep the chart from going to a satellite view when zooming in?
No. You reach a point in all charts, whether it's Navionics, whether it's Noaa, whether it's anyone else, that you cannot zoom but so far in, and the chart will not give you a return of what you're expecting to see. So for instance, I know that I am at zoom level 10. Looking at my browser, I'm going to hit plus. I go to zoom level 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, I'm gone to satellite. Noaa does not return charts any closer than zoom level 15. So the person asking that question is trying to zoom in too tight for what we are able to deliver using today's technology. So I have zoomed in to mode 13. I'm on Bogue Bank. I'm going to go to zoom level 14. And watch what happens. I've got a pretty good detail here, but when I go to zoom level 15, zoom level 16, I go to satellite. So that's to answer that question. If I were in Navionics charts, I'm at zoom level 15. I know that by looking at my browser. We happen to deliver that information. Let's see what happens when we go to 16. They're taking 16. They're taking 17. And they're out at 18, zoom level 8. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I think that explains it well. We have two other questions that are a little bit more general in nature. So do you want to hold those till the end, or would you like to go ahead?
I'm going to conclude and answer those questions because I have 2 minutes left according to my clock. Here's my conclusion, everyone. I gave you a very brief overview of waterwayguide.com. I would encourage you to go to waterwayguide.com. If you want to log in and join and pay a premium subscription, you will have a lot more information available to you, including books. You will get real-time navigation alerts pushed to you. I would encourage you to subscribe to, I'm going to go back to the home page of Explorer. I'm going to the home page now. And I would encourage everyone to scroll down to the screen and subscribe to our newsletter. You will get news and information on Wednesday, navigation alerts on Friday, and it's your jumping off point for learning so much about the waters that you're going to ply as you begin your journeys and your adventures. And even if you're currently involved with Waterway Guide or use it, I encourage you to go to waterwayguide.com and push on every button and try to break it. All right. Go ahead, Kim.
Okay. First question that came in, and this is related to the physical versions of the books, will the 2021 editions have COVID-19 guidance included?
Only to the extent from general guidance. When we say guidance, we know at this point in the evolution of what's going on with COVID that most marinas, facilities, and public events and other locations have CDC guidelines in place. So the 2021 editions mention it, but we don't have anything special in it because the rules are changing every day.
Okay. Next question, is there enough demand or potential customers for you to cover the Ohio, Cumberland, and Tennessee rivers? Or, how far up those rivers do you go?
As Ted mentioned the other night, we have the Mississippi coming down and the Tenn-Tom, but if you want the inland rivers in detail, Quimby's is your friend. There's not at this point enough demand from Waterway Guide for us to flesh that out and to dedicate the amount of time and effort that we do to creating that level of guidance. Ted, if you have anything to add, unmute yourself and jump in. If that's
no, I mean, both in Waterway Guide and Skipper Bob, we cover the Chicago to Mobile route, but the only portion of the Tennessee and the Cumberland that we cover are those portions that are applicable to that route. I would like to make a comment on COVID. If the situation degrades and marinas once again have to close or come up with restrictions, we have a COVID page on the Waterway Guide Explorer that we will reactivate, and you can get up-to-date information there.
And we're watching that day by day to make that decision. But in printed guides, we're not doing a lot. The only thing we've done is we've taken most of the restaurant listings and recommendations out of our guidebooks based on what has happened in the last year.
Okay, next
question. That concludes. Thank you so much for the opportunity, unless you have another question.
We do. We have a few more questions, and we can give you a little bit of leeway on the time, but I appreciate you being conscious of the fact that we do have another speaker. But let's go ahead and get these questions asked. And if there are any other questions that folks have not typed in yet or have not raised your hand, please go ahead and do that so that as we answer these last few, we know we're ready to transition over to New Bern. Next question, what is the data load or throughput needed to get all of this data? So if you're on a cell phone, they're asking if you need 2 bars or greater if on a cell, or any comment on that, Ed?
It's really a case-by-case basis. Good question. I took waterwayguide.com on my cell phone and iPad and did a big trip around Florida back at Christmas last year with our son. 5 days, 400 plus miles, and I had a good signal the whole way and was able to punch up marinas, fuel prices, touch the button, put the phone to my ear, make the phone call, and I didn't have any problem whatsoever in that area. We've kept the data pretty cheap, if you will, and pretty quick on the throughput, but test it as you go through. For the icons and the symbols that I showed you, Marina's navigation alerts, etc., pretty quick downloads.
All right, and what appears to be the final question as of right now, do you have reviews and listings of restaurants and points of interest?
On a case-by-case basis, yes. We don't offer up restaurants. We don't do restaurant reviews unless they're associated with a specific marina or facility on property. You may find a review there. And in terms of going ashores and other locations, I would have to zoom in on that and see. I've got to go on ashore here for Irvington, Virginia. I've got to sign in, etc. This is, by the way, where you go into the premium model. But yes, there's a lot of information out there and reviews from various folks who post information in the going ashores and others. So there is some information out there, but not specifically to restaurants.
And Ed, can you talk a little, for those who maybe haven't seen the guides themselves, talk a little bit about what the going ashore is?
The going ashore is simply about 300 to 400 word essay, an overview of a particular location. So if you were getting ready to go ashore at Southport, or if you were getting ready to pull into Beaufort, you could find a going ashore on the Waterway Guide map, and that going ashore would tell you details such as where the vets are, where the restaurants are, to the extent that some of them are still operating. We started to pull those out, where facilities are, within about a mile radius of the waterfront where you're going to be. It's historical, where the gardens are, where the post office, the drugstore, physicians, etc. Just kind of an insight for boaters. Perfect.
And we did have another question pop in. This person would like to know, if they buy the books, does that also give access to the premium online website features?
Let's put it this way. If you buy the annual $116 package, we'll send you 2 books of your choice. If you buy the $64 annual, you'll send you 1 book of your choice. The $3.99 monthly is simply all of the content digitally delivered. And of course, we have a package for all AGLCA members. If you're going to buy the entire series, if you're getting ready to do the loop, there's a discount there. So to answer your question, it's kind of the other way around. Get access to the digital, we'll send you the books, but it's cut off one end of the blanket and sew it on the other, if you know what I mean.
Well, and that's really a great deal, because Ed, if I'm remembering the books, what is the retail price on the books themselves if you were to
$45 to $50 per book,
right.
$45 per book. So at $90, you buy 2 books. By the time we ship them to you, et cetera, here, you buy the annual premium for $120, we ship them to you at no charge.
Right.
And the magazine and a bunch of other stuff. There's really some cool stuff. This page is under the Learn More. I don't have to read what's here, so anyone can log on and take a look at it and see what, and we say go premium. Everyone who's gone premium really likes it. So that's one way of getting that information.
All right, Ed Tillett, Waterway Guide Media, thank you so much for joining us, and thanks Ted Staley, who also chimed in there. We appreciate you supporting this event because it is a little bit different for us, and you've always supported our in-person live events, and we thank you for supporting the virtual version as well. And thank you also for your long-term sponsorship of AGLCA.
It's always a pleasure to see you. Thanks, Kim, for having us.